Hi everyone, this is Brian from HobbyQuest, and today I'll be showing you how to build our model airplane, the Falcon. Now, the Falcon is a 2-day project, meaning we're going to start building it one day, and then during the second day we'll complete it and fly it. So just keep in mind that we're going to have to store this during the first day, and so that you'll have it ready for the second class. This is an electric plane as well. Okay, so let's get started. Now the Falcon is going to come inside a bag that looks like this, okay, with all of your pieces inside, and what it'll require is a bit of assembly. It won't require any other tools, although you might want to have some tools available like tape in order to fix anything that might break. Once everybody has one of these packets, you can have your students open their bag very carefully from the end, and they'll want to keep this bag intact so that they can place all of their parts back inside at the end of the first day. And once it's open, just have your students take everything out of the bag. And keep the bag for storage at the end of class. Okay. So once everything's out of the bag, you can have your students arrange everything on the table however they like, as long as it's very neat so that they have easy access to everything, and they're not all on top of one another. The first part that we're going to need will be this part right over here. This is our engine of our plane. It's also the main part of the plane that will get connected to everything else. So we're going to start by having this ready, and we're going to start actually with the landing gear, which will be attached to it. Now the landing gear is found inside this little bag inside. We're going to move everything else aside first. Okay. And you're just going to want to have this bag opened very carefully once more. We won't need to keep this for storage, but we don't want to lose any of the small pieces that might be inside this bag. Okay. The two parts that we're going to need for the landing gear will be this bent metal piece right over here that kind of looks like antennae, and this part right over here, which will include the wheels and the little pegs that go at the ends of the wheels in order to keep the wheels in place. So once you have all these parts outside of the bag, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to carefully take the wheels off of this plastic casing. And you can do that just by turning the wheels, twisting them so that the casing breaks off. Okay, you'll want to take off both wheels, and once those two wheels are off, we're going to want to do the same for the small pegs at the center of this casing right over here. There's one, and there's a second one as well, and a small little piece of the casing that we won't need will be at the center. Now these parts we don't really need, so after they're off, we can throw those out. We don't need them anymore. Okay. So once you have the two little pegs and the two wheels and this metal part of the landing gear, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to insert the wheels onto the ends of the landing gear. So you're going to want to take your wheel and you're going to insert it into one of the ends of the little metal piece, and once the wheel's on, you're going to want to place the little peg at the end of it to cap it off. There is a small hole on one of the sides of the peg. It can be a little tough to get in, but it should fit in pretty nicely. Okay. You got one on. And we're going to want to do the same for the other side, for the second wheel. Okay. Now, if one of your students is having trouble with this part, you can feel free to help if they really can't do it, because it can be kind of tough for small hands to get this in, or even large hands sometimes. Okay, just have to be patient. It should fit in pretty perfectly. Okay, So once this landing gear is put together, we're going to want to attach it to our main motor part. Okay. Now, at the center of your landing gear, there's a little bend. Okay, that will be inserted into a slot on the bottom of this motor part. So there's kind of a little rectangular box on one side, on the end of it, and there should be a little place to insert this bent metal part. Okay, so it should look like this once it's in. Okay, just like that. All right. Now at this point, we have our landing gear on. So the next part we're going to want to put together is the fuselage. Okay. Now the fuselage is going to be the body of the plane. It's basically this yellow plastic hollow straw. Okay. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to insert that toward the back of your motor, and that should slide into a slot right over there, just like that. Okay. And on the other end of this fuselage, we're going to place the tail connector. So we're going to slide this in as well, just like this. Okay. There is a long fin toward the end. Now that long fin should be standing up on the plane, because we're going to want to place our rudder there. Okay. Now, at this point, we have most of our fuselage done. Okay. We do have 2 propellers left over from the small bag. We can actually take one of the propellers at this point and just place it onto the tip of our plane. Okay, just like this, it should go in. And the other propeller is actually an extra one in case that one breaks. We're going to want to keep this in case a propeller breaks, so the students will have an extra one. They're going to want to place that back inside the bag, the large bag, so that they'll have it for next time. Okay. Now, once this is all done, we're going to move on to connecting the tail pieces. Okay. Now, tail pieces are going to include the rudder and the elevator. Okay. So inside this bag, you'll have a few things, but we're not going to take everything out. Okay. We're going to keep the 2 wings, the 2 large wings inside the bag, and we're going to want to keep the stickers inside the bag as well for next time, because we're only going to finish the tail up until now for the first class. So to connect these pieces, the rudder and the elevator, to the tail, we're going to want to take this sheet of double-sided tape out of that bag. It looks like this, and there are some pre-cut designs on here. We're going to want to use the 2 smaller ones. Okay. So we're going to take those off. We're going to take them right off of that piece of paper, and we're going to start by peeling off one side of the double-sided tape. Once they're peeled apart, you should have one that's sticky and one that's not. Just make sure that students know that they're supposed to use the sticky side and not the unsticky side. They can get confused with that sometimes and try to peel something that has no tape on it. Okay, so we have one sticky side. Now, one of these is narrower and longer, and that should fit pretty perfectly onto the edge of the tail fin setup right over here. Okay, so this is going to be attachment for our rudder. And you're going to take the other one, which is a little thicker than the other one, a little shorter too. We're going to peel off the edge of the paper. We're going to peel off the paper one more time. Make sure you're using the sticky side. Okay, and that is going to go on the underside of this tail setup, like that. Okay. All right. Once those pieces are on and we've got them stuck on, we can actually put together the tail. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and peel off the paper from the tape, and what you should be left with is just sticky tape on the plastic. And we're going to start by attaching the rudder. The rudder goes alongside the tail, along the tail, and it stands up like this. And once the rudder's on, you can go ahead and put together the elevator. And the elevator actually has a design on it, and there's a bit of a little flat part for us to attach the elevator with. When you're attaching these, make sure that this little bumpy part, which are the flaps on your plane, make sure that they're at the end of the plane. So we want to stick that on very carefully. Make sure you tell your students as well that once they have stuck this on, they don't want to try peeling it off again, because that might just damage the foam wing. Okay. All right. So now that this is done, this is very likely where you're going to finish on the first day. So once this is all done, you're going to want to put the rest of the tape back inside your bag. And then you're going to want to put this back inside the bag as well as this part, the charger. And the plane can also, if it may fit inside the bag, it may not, you can just have it, you can also keep them separate in your bag. Make sure you have the students' names written somewhere on the plane, likely on the elevator, because it's the biggest part. Okay, now we're going to move on to the second day. So for the second day, we're going to want to finish the plane and then fly it. So you can hand out the parts once more. You can hand this back out to students. You can hand the remaining parts back out to the students, and just take out the remaining parts, which will be the 2 wings, along with the sticker sheet and the double-sided tape. Okay, so what we'll do on the second day is you're going to start with the double-sided tape, and you're going to want to peel off, once again, you're going to want to peel off the tape. Okay, and you should have 2 pieces like this that are identical. Each of these is going to hold one side of your wing to your plane. So we're going to start by peeling off the one side of the tape once more, and you want to use the sticky side and discard the other non-sticky side. And you're going to want to put this onto the wing mount, which is up on top of the engine. You're going to want to put this on one side. Okay. And then you're going to want to do the same thing for the other side. You're going to go ahead and peel off one side of the tape once more. Okay. Peel it off. Make sure you're using the sticky side once again. Now, because these two are identical, sometimes you're going to have your students attempt to peel off a piece of paper that they've already peeled. So you want to make sure that they properly discard the paper that they peel off once they've done it, so that they don't get confused. You can also just crumple it up so that they know not to use it anymore. Okay, so once this is done, we're going to want to attach our wings. So we're going to peel off the paper so that we'll leave the tape stuck to the wing mount. Okay, and this nut is now very sticky. And we're going to start by taking one of the wings, and the wings are also designed specifically to curve with your wing mount. So make sure that when you're attaching it, this design with all the little bumps on it, that this is on top, this bumpy design is on top of your plane, and that it's also at the back of your wing. So we're going to put this on right over here. And you're going to want to do the other side as well. Once you get one side on, do the other side, just like that. And your plane is pretty much complete once this is done. So once again, make sure your students don't tear off the wing once they put it on if they've made a small mistake or it's not lined correctly. Just tell them that it's fine, it should still fly. They don't want to peel it off because then they might just rip the wing, and then you'll just have a plane that won't fly at all. Okay, So once this is done, you can give the students some time to actually decorate. And while they're doing that, you're going to want to actually start going around and giving them some batteries. So because it's an electric plane, there is a charger that goes with it. The charger looks like this. The end over here, this little white piece over here is basically where you plug in the charger. And there's a corresponding little part right over here on the side of your plane next to the switch, the on-off switch, where you'll plug this charger in. So you want to give out batteries, okay? And it does take 2 AA batteries. And to put them inside the charger, what you need to do is you'll need to actually open up the charger first, and this is a sliding mechanism, so you just have to press down and slide it off, all right, to open it. And you're going to want to put the battery inside. So, of course, there's a plus and minus side, so make sure you have your students check carefully to insert the batteries right. So we're going to place the batteries in, and then slide the door shut. And to charge it, you just have to plug it right inside into the plane. So we're not going to charge it just yet because there's likely going to be some power on the plane already. So we're going to do, once it's done, once the students have some time decorating your plane, you're going to want to show them how to turn it on, how to turn it off, how to charge it before they actually fly it. Okay? So what we want to do is you'll want to start by showing them how to turn it on. You can turn on your electric plane by flipping the switch up. Okay, you can flip the switch up to turn it on. And then to turn it off, you just have to flip the switch back down. Okay? Now, this in order to charge this plane, what you want to make sure of is that there's no power on in the plane, in the battery whatsoever, because this charger can only charge the plane for up to about a minute or two. If you charge it for too long, what happens is it's going to overheat the battery inside the plane, and then it might just overload the battery and it won't work anymore. So make sure that there's no power before you actually start charging. So you can run it dry actually for the first run, and then have the students practice charging it. And then to charge it, you just place the charger inside the slot, and it should kind of click in and stay in there. And you'll just want to have to time the students for about a minute or 2 minutes, and then take it back out, unplug it once it's done charging. Okay, you don't want to leave the charger in for too long, like I said, because it'll overheat the battery. So make sure the students just know that when they're charging it, they need to be paying attention to the plane and not going elsewhere. Okay, and that is our Falcon. It does fly very, very far, so when you do take your students out to fly this, you'll want to take them to a school backyard or someplace with a lot of space, because it does fly pretty far and it can fly pretty high as well. Okay, I hope that this was very informative for you. Thank you for watching, and have a great quest.